Hello, thank you for tuning in. You're listening to A Band of Gamers. This is podcast episode 195. I'm Joel, one of your three co-hosts. Joining me, like always, Shane and Carl. Special episode this time around. We recorded quite a few bits of audio back when we were together in April, and we got another one for you. This is an email we received from Colum, thank you Colum, where he asked us for our favorite albums over the decades. So after a couple beers, hanging out together, we, in the same room, came up with our favorite albums over the decades. Learned something about myself. Well, something I already knew. I'm a planner. A big-time planner. Honestly, if I could go back and do this over again, I'd probably pick different records. And maybe my cohorts would say the same thing. Although Shane seemed pretty buttoned down with his choices. So sit back, relax, and hope you enjoy. We'll be back at you in 2 weeks with a regular episode, where our recommended album is from Bokassa. It's called Crimson Riders. If you want to give that a few listens, then kick it over to our Discord, bandofgamers.com/Discord, and leave your thoughts. And we'll include them in the next episode. Please note the audio is not the usual high quality. It's us in a room together on 3 mics, all sitting around a table. Sounds good, but not what you're accustomed to hearing. Take care. See you in 2 weeks. Here we go. We received an email from Colum that we saved till we were all together to read through. And it reads, so you mentioned your top 5 albums of all time. Well, as I've been around for 5 decades, I thought I'd give you my 5 favorite albums from 5 decades. Don't worry, I'll choose one from each decade. I don't know if I could limit to one.
We've got to try.
I think most of them I could do one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
This is going to be tough.
No, it's easy.
I'm nah.
We can do one in honourable mention, other. There's got to be one that stands out.
Wow. Okay. I'm not, that's going to be difficult. Well, the column gets us started here with the 1960s. And in 60s, he's got Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And he says, well, it's got to be. When I was in secondary school in the early 80s, I went through my Beatles phase, picking up old Beatles albums. Sadly, I don't have them anymore. Music has always been a part of my life. Even more than video games, it's helped me through some hormonal problems. This album helped me get through some of those hormones, from Lucy in the Sky to possibly my favorite Beatles tune, A Day in the Life.
Interesting.
So 1960s, you guys said it, you're going to pick one album. Do you know what as I look through my list and try and narrow it down?
I've got my phone at the ready, but I think I'm good with the 60s. I'm good with the 60s. It's Disraeli Gears by Cream is my favourite album of the 60s.
Ooh.
Yeah. Cream are my favourite band of all time, so it's kind of an easy one. Trio, powerhouse, the first kind of supergroup. 67. This band came and went before I was even born, but yeah, they're so good. Ginger Baker is like God to me. Dude's so good on drums, just fucking all over the place. Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton, like a holy trinity. I think they produce some phenomenal music in such a small time scale. And there's some good albums in the 60s, some really good albums, but I could say that's my favourite.
Shane, you got a choice?
Revolver.
Yeah. More Beatles.
Wow.
Beatles, Revolver, easy. Hands down.
Interesting.
No. Yeah, well, a little bit. Yeah. It's an amazing record. It showed off the talent of them. Yeah, like no other album they did. So, Rubber Soul prior to that was absolutely brilliant, but Revolver is the one that really, for me, just cemented them as, the GOATs. It's the greatest.
I think I'm also going to do Beatles with this one.
And
I'm going to go Abbey Road. Probably 1969, I think.
Wow. Okay.
Very, very late in the decade. But I liked when they got away from the psychedelic. I love Revolver and I love Sgt. Pepper's. I mean, I like all the Beatles records really in that whole era. Rubber Soul, Shane mentioned, was kind of more acoustic. I really liked when they kind of went back to rock, picked up their equipment again, and just belted out that Abbey Road album, Come Together. great first track. Not a day in the life, but that whole, what do you call it? Grouping of tunes at the end. They kind of go through that large chunk, like 20 minutes of little bits and pieces.
Like a medley of different things, right?
Yeah, medley. Thank you. Good album.
Yeah.
Penny Lane.
Penny Lane wasn't on Abbey Road, dude.
Oh, sorry.
Penny Lane was like a double A side with Strawberry Fields.
Strawberry Fields forever.
This is, yeah.
Why don't you check the internet, Joe?
Yeah. Penny Lane was
checking my phone.
Well, prior to that. That was before Sgt. Pepper.
Sorry.
It could have been.
Because they threw out Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, and whatnot around that time. Or maybe it was right after Sgt. Pepper.
How about I Want You, She's So Heavy?
That's all right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an Abbey Road fan.
Oh
to
my
be honest.
God, I love Abbey Road.
Yeah. Mean Mr. Mustard.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think that some of those tunes on it, like they're kind of thrown together. Some I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all bits and pieces at the end, that medley.
Yeah.
They kind of pieced them together. Here Comes the Sun, classic George Harrison tune. Something.
Which was Frank Sinatra's favorite Lennon-McCartney tune.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Well done, Sinatra.
Another goat.
Yeah.
Now we're on to the 70s. We'll read Column's email here. 70s, Bob Dylan, Blood on the Tracks.
Oh, that's someone who likes that.
Good man. Obviously, this was not my favorite at the time, but a few years back, I discovered Bob Dylan, of course. I heard of him beforehand, but this album is fantastic. The man is a lyrical genius. From Tangled Up in Blue to Shelter from the Storm, there isn't one track on this album I don't like. That's a great thing about music. You discover classics at any time in your life, especially when it's relevant to whatever stage in your life you are at. That's a great record. I like his choice there. Excellent Bob Dylan album.
Yeah, you're a big fan of Dylan. I know.
I am. And even in the 60s, he had some great records. You guys got a choice for your 70s?
Yeah, mine's out of two. It's either going to be Led Zeppelin 4, which was 71, or Dark Side of the Moon. Probably Dark Side of the Moon, I'd go with 73, 74.
73, I think.
Probably Dark Side. I think that's the album from the 70s I listened to probably the most. I do have a soft spot for Zeppelin 2 and 4, really, but Dark Side of the Moon, I think it's just so good. Like when I heard all the synthesizer work and all the crazy shit, that's just lived with me for years, since the 70s, really. So I would go with that.
Good record.
No surprise to anyone. The Ramones' first album.
Ooh.
Changed my life. Yeah, not much to say about it, but easily my favorite from the 70s. There's a lot of great albums in that decade, but that one, by far the most important one to me.
I'm trying to remember when this record came out, but for me, it's got a couple choices here. Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. That's Peter Gabriel era Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
That was his last that he did with him.
It might be. That's a double album.
Yeah.
Very progressive sounding music. Excellent guitar work by Steve Hackett. And anything by Steely Dan in the 70s. I had to pick just one. Probably Asia.
Yeah.
Asia's a great record. Got the Michael McDonald in there. Peg. Black Cow. Josie. Home at Last. That's me for the 70s. Guys, I get any honorable mentions?
Pictures at an Exhibition, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. That's another one that my old man played a ton. Absolutely love that. But yeah, probably not as important to me as Floyd.
Deep Purple's Machine Head. Another one that's really important. Love that album. It's amazing. Richie Blackmore. Incredible guitar player. If you get a chance on YouTube, there's somebody has taken out everything and you just hear Richie's guitar tracks and it's just incredible. The incredible guitar player. Great one. So yeah, Deep Purple, Machine Head.
Yeah, we did that in the car this weekend. This week. That was excellent to hear that. It's been a while.
It's been a long time since I heard that.
Next up, we've got the 80s. We'll go back to Column's email. Next, it says, tough one to call. I was a teenager in the early 80s, so music was my world at this age. Such classics like The Cure, Guns N' Roses, to name but a few. But for me, it's got to be U2 October. Just the rawness of their very early stuff still sounds great to me.
Great record. Underrated U2 album. Very raw, very young. Some great guitar work on it. But yeah, underrated.
Staying silent.
Staying silent. And then he goes on to say, I'm a big U2 fan, and I'll make no apologies. I didn't get into U2 and War, but October is just a great album, and I still listen to this over their later stuff.
I Threw a Brick Through a Window is a great track off that album that's worth checking out.
All right, who's up for the 80s? Shane's favorite decade.
Yes, correct. No, not quite. But my favorite, The Smiths, The Queen's Dead, hands it easily. Best album of the 80s.
Yeah.
Best band of the 80s. And that album is just brilliant. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not massive.
You don't like the 80s either?
I don't want. There's a lot of good metal albums and rock albums in the 80s.
There's a few.
There is.
But I'm not a massive Smiths fan.
No, that's true. You are not a massive Smiths fan.
Don't mind. Separate, they're kind of more tolerable to me, but yeah, Smiths aren't bad. Don't get me wrong. He's scowling at me now.
I'm not scowling. What are you scowling? You know what I mean?
Pretending, lifting and dropping his beer. Yeah, it's got to be Slippery When Wet by Bon Jovi for me. I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
Wow.
Dude, he was
ready to be sleeping outside this evening.
I just want to see your faces. Yeah, it's really tough. Just having to skim through some of the albums. It was, you got a great Maiden, Metallica. Yeah, that's super tough. Motorhead.
80s was, there's a lot of good. I mean, that's like Column. I was a kid then. So you sort of grew up loving so many records in that era.
It's a tough thing. I've got to go for Appetite for Destruction.
Whoa! Dark horse there.
Yeah.
The album's superb. Beginning to end, I don't think there's a bad track on it. But it's one of them when you see like the music videos and stuff, like the first time, like when they're like Welcome to the Jungle and stuff, and they're kind of sitting up at like what kind of it was Wembley Stadium or like it was a stadium and they're sitting up for a gig and stuff, and that music video just sticks in my head from like when that album was. It's one of those the catchy riffs and stuff that were just sticking in there. Like the metal stuff was great and that, but I wasn't quite into it at that point until like our kids started listening to it, and he's a little bit older than me, so I probably didn't listen to a lot of those heavier records until the late 80s, early 90s. So yeah.
And it's got Rocket Queen on it, so.
Yeah. It's got to be GNR. Yeah.
Looking through my list of records here for the 80s, I'm looking at Discogs.
What?
Trying to help me out a little bit here. There's the 80s is tough because there's just so many records in there I loved. And the one that's kind of jumping to the top of the list here for me is Couldn't Stand the Weather by Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Slick.
Double Trouble.
Yeah, it's a great record.
That's one that I put on all of the time. And I can't get enough of. Cold Shot, one of my favorite Stevie tunes. Just a good sounding, solid blues record by a genius at his peak. A couple others, Power Windows by Rush. Love that record. Any of the Metallicas. Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets would be way up that list.
Yeah, Puppets.
Peace Cells by Megadeth.
Number of the Beast, Iron Maiden.
Yeah, Number of the Beast. I'll go Stevie Ray Vaughan. Couldn't Stand the Weather.
Solid.
Sound.
Solid record. Sound.
The 90s. Back to Column's email. This is harder than I thought. For me, the 90s is all about dance music and Britpop. Oasis were bloody huge in the 90s, and the song battles between them and Blur, just class. My first introduction to Oasis was when we got a free CD buying Donkey Kong 2 on the SNES, if I remember correctly. Whoa. Cigarettes and Alcohol was on the CD along with some of the indie bands like Radiohead. So definitely Maybe is my top album of the 90s. Such cocky, lovable rogues. Such great anthems.
Definitely Maybe for myself as well.
Ooh.
Easily. Timeless record. Everything on that album is still relatable today and will be relatable in another 15, 25 years as well. It's just perfect record, start to finish.
God, there's a ton for me. 90s was the best decade, I think.
Here.
And not only was it full of Britpop, you also had a ton of stuff from the States as well, which we were bombarded, literally. It was such a great decade. For me, I'm probably going to go Rage Against the Machine, self-titled, because their debut album is just fucking brilliant. It stands to this day. Like I was playing the other day before I come out here, and like I can pinpoint the time when and everyone was kind of listening to a load of the Britpop bands that that I went to school with, and like Oasis were kind of coming out. Definitely, maybe was a couple of singles off it, and Blur were there, and people listening to like Pulp and Gene, and I think maybe Ash and the Stereophonics, maybe the first record of that, and a load of this stuff was around at the time, and there was just something about that Rage record that just like blew me away, and it wasn't like when you listen to the metal is just kind of aggressive, and there was something clever about the lyrics, and there was just the funk that was with it, and the attitude. I loved it. I was playing the game on Shadowrun on the Super Nintendo at the time, and I remember it clearly. Like when I was playing that game, I got the cassette tape off a mate, copied the album off him, and I wore it out, and I was just playing it all the time when I was playing Shadowrun. It was just like the anthem of a year for me. It's such a good record. I've got to go with Rage.
It's one of those records you can put on any time now, these days even, and still a powerful album. For me, it's going to be Blind Melon Soup. Their second record. When I first got it, I hated it because I was very into Blind Melon, and they had a different sound going into that record. They went down to New Orleans, recorded that, and it had a very New Orleans sound to it. But when I first got it, it's like, wait, this is not the Blind Melon I know and love. This is different. I didn't like it at first, but it grew on me really, really fast and ended up being an important record for me. And he died just a few years later, Shannon Hoon. To this day, an album I listen to constantly, and I just recently got my wife into it now. She really appreciates it as well. Very close second for me would be the Low End Theory. I had to look up the date. Came out in 91. Wasn't sure if this was late 80s. But the Low End Theory by Tribe Called Quest. An excellent hip-hop album with some great sampling in it. Phife Dawg and Q-Tip, two best voices in hip-hop together. Very positive record. And one I used to jam after bar a lot. Now we've got the 2000s, sort of columns email, sort of lost my music tastes in the 2000s. Young kids took center stage. A few artists come to mind. Keane, The Prodigy, but Kaiser Chiefs, Employment. This album I played to death, so much so it was my first album my son and I loved. He was around 8 when this came out. I just heard it in the local record shop, and I had to have this. Played it so much that I can't listen to it much nowadays. I tend to do that with a lot of albums I love. That's too bad. You guys ever love an album so much that you played it and now have a hard time listening to it? I can't say that I have. The ones that I love, I keep going back to.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I've ever had one that I've worn out to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm done with it. I can't listen again. Don't think that's happened.
Yeah, not to that point. No. There's definitely ones where you go through phases and I can listen to nonstop for like 6 months, and then I can put it away for a few years, and then it's brand new again. But no, not to that extent.
Yeah, any obvious choices for the 2000s?
Just thinking now.
This is going to start to get harder for me.
Yeah, 2000s is really difficult because there was just, like, compared to the 90s, music fell off a cliff. I loved Pearl Jam, self-titled, purely because I saw them in Verona, like on that tour.
That's the Avocado record, right? Yeah, that's an underrated Pearl Jam record.
I think it's a great record. And just some of the stuff like World War Suicide and that, just like it was just rock, man. Yeah. And then obviously I went on that tour, so that kind of just followed me really, and just that's the album I think when I think about the 2000s, that's one of the ones I think really. So probably, unless I think of it, I'm just scrolling through some albums here and thinking actually it looked pretty quiet, man. There's some albums I thought that came out in 2000, which didn't. Yeah, so I'm probably going to go Pearl Jam.
I'm having a total brain fart on the 2000s. I'm looking at my Discogs record list, and it's like all the release dates for reissues of stuff in the 2000s.
Yeah.
That's throwing me off. I know Nick Drake's Britter Layer did not come out in 2008, like my Discogs is telling me here.
It'd either be that or American Idiot, which I know is one of Shane's favourites.
No, it's not really. To be honest, no. It's just I think it's just got it overplayed.
My feeling with the question before then. Not you were a huge fan, but it's like before.
I can still listen to it though. I can still listen to it. I think there's some absolute bangers on there. Letter Bomb is an incredible tune. But it's just that album got too big and it lost its importance. In my opinion, it blew up. I saw them on that tour and they played a small arena in town, and then like 9 months later, the album had blown up, and then it was just everywhere. They were playing, borderline stadiums at that point. So
it's a toss up actually. Black Parade was out 2006. And I love that record. I really do. My Chemical Romance. I'm not a massive fan of theirs, but I think that album's brilliant. But again, it's that kind of thing about American Idiot. It's got like anthemic kind of, it's almost like a story all the way through. Yeah, that album's killer. But I'm gonna stick with Pearl Jam. I'll give the others as honourable mentions.
Yeah.
Wow, this is tough.
Really? The White Stripes, Disraeli. It was the album, their second record before, and it came out. It was the album before White Blood Cells, where they really started getting a lot of play. Listen to that, and I quit playing guitar for some time, and when I started listen to that, I picked it back up again, and I fell in love with Jack White after that. I think his guitar playing on that album is incredible. It's brilliant. There's some covers on there, like some old blues, Death Letter, amazing tune.
Yeah.
The album, just start to finish, I think it's brilliant, flawless. His guitar playing is sloppy, but perfectly sloppy, and it's incredible. A very important record to me, especially when it comes to playing guitar. Just still great record.
Not a bad shout, mate.
Thank you.
I'm going to go with, and I'm looking at the website here, trying to figure out, Googling the 2000s. I'm having a hard time remembering anything. A couple of images I saw, a couple of albums on here that I love. Beck's Sea Change was in the 2000s. It's a very good record. Tough time in his life where he was going through a breakup. I, at the same time, lost my grandfather. So
sorry, man.
That's all right. It happens, right? But I went to cheer myself up. I went and bought that record. And here Beck is going through this breakup, love lost. It like directly connected with me losing my grandfather for some reason. I know it had nothing to do with that, but in my mind it did. And I later realized, it's a breakup. Oh, okay. I thought he lost a loved one. I was so connected with it. Good album, beautiful, nice acoustic record.
Yeah.
And then second maybe, or close tie would be Queens of the Stone Age, Rated R.
Ooh.
Was in that decade. That's a very good record as well. Awesome guitar riffs on there.
Yeah, that bangs.
Radiohead's Kid A, also 2000 record,
Yeah.
which is
that's on here.
Really, dude. Yeah, it's a. I didn't like Radiohead until I heard that record. A buddy brought it over. He's like, "Dude, you got to hear this." And I listened to it. And I was like, "Holy crap, what is this?"
You didn't like him until you heard Kid A?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't a fan of the Bends or
Pablo
even
Honey,
OK Computer. No, I've never listened to Pablo Honey or anything. But yeah, when I heard that, I was like, "Holy crap, what is this?" It was incredible. But then that's another one that all of a sudden blew up, and it was. There's tunes on there that I have to skip now.
Yeah.
Idiot Tech, I can go never hearing again, and I'll be completely happy.
Yeah.
But there's tunes on that album that are. It closes out motion picture soundtrack, which is just incredible. The album's just a great journey, and there was nothing like that at the time, nothing like that, and nothing from a band that had that much success, went out online asking for people to send in like weird chords or anything, and nobody did. And they came back with that record, and it's incredible. Unfortunately, it changed the band forever, and they've never reverted back to those previous sounds or anything. But it made me appreciate the band.
Yeah,
and it made me go back and listen to OK Computer and the Bends and realize why they are or were important in the 90s and early 2000s.
I'm going to completely agree with Shane on Kid A.
Thank you.
And Radiohead. I did not appreciate that band until that record.
See?
It kind of opened up the door for me. Just because it was so different than what they had done previously.
Okay.
They kind of had more of an annoying alternative sound to me prior to that.
Annoying.
Yeah. I thought that to me, Kid A was kind of revolutionary.
Okay.
Thank you.
It just took it to a whole new level. And that's when I first realized what they were capable of.
Yeah.
That's when they hit my radar.
Yep.
Sorry, true story.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Is that's what one of those polarizing albums. Like people either like, holy crap, this is absolutely incredible piece, or they're like, meh.
Yeah, I was meh. Yeah, I love Pablo Honey. Ben's good, and then wasn't a fan.
Now we get to the current decade, which is still in progress.
Ooh. Oh God,
this is also not easy. So here we got the 2010s. Back to Column's email. Thanks to my son and his musical tastes, he introduced me to some EDM and his trap remixes. I haven't a clue who they are, but some great tunes. He looks at World of Dance, some awesome dancers on these shows. We usually watch them after a few beers, but I suppose recently got hooked on some Stormzy, Gang Signs, and Prayer album. Yes, me listening to rappers. It's weirdly good. That's his choice for the 2010s.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Storm. I'm not really into grime music, to be fair. Storms is huge in the UK, though. People love him.
Yeah.
They're really into him. I think he's headlining Glastonbury this year. I think, more on the Saturday. So it's a big gig for him. So, it's obviously going down well. This decade, that's really tough because we've been doing this show for a huge chunk of that.
Yeah, we've had a lot of albums on this show during that time.
Yeah. So
it feels like the toughest to narrow down because we've got an album every other week for a couple of years, and they're all really good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to the favourites of the year, and that's super difficult.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I liked Volcano Choir's Repave record quite a bit. Local band with coming out of the Bon Iver roots. Very deep record.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. Got a chance to see it live a few times. It's a moving record. I don't know. It's tough to say it's my favorite. But looking through the list here, that is one jumping to the top. It's an emotional, heart-wrenching record at times, but it's very, very good.
Whew.
Band of Horses, Acoustic at the Ryman. That's quite a good record. Got Damon Albarn in there.
Good. And I'm just decades not over.
Field Report's Mary Golden.
Yeah.
Chris Cresswell's 1 Week record.
Yeah, not bad. That's a good record. I really like Creepers, Eternity in Your Arms. That was a belter. And there's been some good metal records. Oh man, that's decade though.
I'm gonna take an incomplete.
Yeah, to be continued, I think.
I could put down now, and when the decade's over, I still stand by him. Lagwagon's Hang, important record.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then the recent Alkaline Trios, Is This and Cursed, another very important record. So either of those, one or the other, toss up.
Man, I'm jealous. You got that figured out.
That White Lung record was hell of a good as well.
Yeah,
that was really good.
There's a lot of good records, but these are the ones that stand out to me, and they'll always be important. And
It's just this whole list for me, at least. I don't know about you guys, kind of off at the top of my head. I mean, if I were to sit down and do a top 10 albums of all time, I'm not sure these would even make that list.
Yeah.
It's like if I had more time to think about it, I think I'd have different choices. But we did not study. We didn't prepare. We just sat down, went top of mind, top of head.
But those are the instinctual ones that you go, you go to it. So they're going to have to be up there somewhere near that top 10, regardless. They're going to be up there. And if there'll be toss ups between, Rubber Soul or Revolver or, Sticky Fingers or, Paranoid, and, never mind the Bullocks. And
those are all good choices.
All sorts.
ArchAndroid was out this decade. So was Dirty Computer, which the more I listen to Janelle Monae, the more I think she's just incredible. So I think by the time 2020 is finished, I'd look back on those two records and be like, those have been my top 10 of the past decade, I would imagine. If she continues to do what she's doing. But those albums, they get better and better. It's tough, man. There's been some great ones.
If I had a slider on the mixer, I would fade out right now and just have the conversation continue.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we could revisit each decade and come up with different choices. That was a good conversation, a good discussion. Thank you, Colin, for the email. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening. If you'd like to contribute to this conversation, and we'd love to hear from you, let us know your favorite albums from each decade. What do we miss? What would you put on the list? You can send an email to feedback@abandongamers.com. Or, if you'd like, you do the Facebook thing. In our Facebook group, we have got a thread for each decade, where we've heard from a lot of you so far. If you haven't commented over there, please feel free, join the conversation. You can find that easily on Facebook, or go to our website, abandofgamers.com, and right in the bottom of the homepage, click on the Facebook link. It'll take you to our page. Right there on our page, I think at the top, there's a link to our group. You can join up, leave some comments. Well, until next time, enjoy your 2 weeks, and take care. Later.